Today we're going to can lima beans. I have soaked them overnight. Well, about half the day yesterday. I drained the water off and changed it out because you'll see where it has sort of got foamy looking at the top. That's where it's drawing out a lot of the stuff that causes belly problems when you eat a lot of beans. I drained that off, then I put more water back over them and let them finish setting all night. Now I'm going to prepare my jars. I've got a teaspoon of salt. Let me make sure that's what it was. I put a teaspoon of salt. Then I'll do a little bit of basil. I don't do a lot of basil. I just do like maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon or 1/4 of a teaspoon. I just put a little in there for a little something extra. You don't have to do this. You can season them however you want to. I normally go with my salt and my pepper and my basil. I've got to refill my pepper jar. I'll use the one that's on the table until I can get my packet out and refill it. I use white pepper. I don't use black pepper unless I'm using turmeric. If I'm using turmeric, then I'll use the black pepper. White pepper is a little bit more spicy than black pepper. If you normally put a lot of black pepper, you won't want to put a lot of white pepper. You'll just have to sort of play with it and see how well you like it. I've got my seasonings in there. Now I'm just going to fill my jars up with my beans. Canning is really not that hard nowadays. It's not like it was when our parents were growing up. They have the canners now where they're pretty much not going to explode unless, I'm not going to say that they won't, your jars won't burst, because every now and then you're going to have a jar that will bust. If you'll pay attention to it, it's not as deadly as everyone thinks it is. I don't fill these all the way up because they'll swell even more once you get your water in them and start cooking them. They'll swell up some more. Now I may put more in them than that, but I don't put a whole lot more because I want my water in there. Sometimes I'll add some ham, or I'll add a ham bone. I have saved my bones from holiday cooking or just a big cooking where you'd have a ham. I've saved my ham bones and kept those in the freezer. I'll put those in here. I'll cut them up and put those in here. I think we can put a little bit more in this one. This is 1 pack of beans, one of the large packs. I have enough left in here to do 1 more large jar. This time I'll take you all the way through the canning process. I won't make you just sit here while everything's going on. I will start the canner. Then I will start the timer when it starts venting. I'll show you that. Then after it has vented for 10 minutes, I'll show you what we're going to do from there. That's what I mean by going through the whole process and showing you what your little jiggler should sound like when you are waiting on it to finish processing. Because it's like I said before, you don't want it going crazy all willy-nilly, because each time it jiggles, it's releasing enough air to keep your canner at the amount of pressure that it needs to be at for your altitude. That is something else you will need to know. You will need to know your altitude to know how many pounds of pressure you need to have in your canner. I live in Alabama. My altitude is 10 pounds of pressure. You'll just have to search and see. It's not hard to find what your altitude is. You can Google it. It will let you know. You know, Google thinks they know everything. I'm going to get some of this water off. It's going to be easier to get the rest of these beans out. Beans are a good, sturdy staple to have in your kitchen. You can use them for lots of things. These beans can go in a ham and bean soup. You can use them by themselves with cornbread. They're filling, they're healthy. It would really be something that you want to have on hand. By soaking them overnight, like I said, it releases a lot of the gas-causing properties in them. I'm not saying it releases all. It releases some. It also, if you're wanting to cook them the next day, it helps speed up the cooking process. Not a lot, but some. I'll set this out of the way. Now, what we're going to do, I'll turn you where you can see. Here's my jar with my beans. Now, I am going to fill it to about right here. Right underneath that second lip on the jar. I'm going to fill my water up to right here. I've got my jars filled. You can see I filled them like about right there. Now, it's very important that you debubble your jars. You don't want any bubbles left in the bottom floating around in there because that's an air pocket. So you want to, I just stir them around real good. I'll hold this one up where you can see. I just stir them around. See those bubbles releasing? Just get the bubbles out of it. Sometimes when you do this, your water level will go down because you're getting that air pocket out of there. I don't use tap water when I'm filling up my jars. I either use spring water from a local spring here. They've got an overflowing well at the town over. I'll either use water from there or distilled water when I'm canning. Or just, I don't use tap water because I have city water and I don't want the chlorine and other things in my canning. Once you get everything filled up, what you'll want to do is get you a napkin. Since there's no meat or greasy product in here, I can just wipe around the lid, the rim here, and I'm checking it to make sure there's nothing on there, no seasonings left on it. You don't want anything on there that'll keep it from sealing. Now, if I were putting ham or something in here and there was a high probability of being some grease or something on there, then I would use vinegar. If this was a soup, I would put a little bit of vinegar on here and wipe around this edge to make sure there's no greasy film on the jars. Now, these are filled with cold water. You can fill them with hot water. If you do fill them with hot water, make sure your water in your canner is warm. If you fill them with cold water, make sure the water in your canner is cold, because you don't want to risk busting a jar. I already have the amount of water needed in my canner. Most canners will have, they'll have a line here. You probably can, there you can see mine. You can see a line here. I need to add some more water because mine has a permanent line from canning. So it needs some more water in it because the water level is not quite high enough. All right, now that I have my canner where it needs to be on the water level, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on so the water can be heating up. It won't get nowhere near hot enough to mess up my jars in the short amount of time that it's going to take to do it. You just place your lid on there, then put your ring on and just do it fingertip tight, like that. You don't have to grip it or anything, you just do it like that. And we're going to place these in the canner. Make sure it's centered on the eye. Now I'm going to check my lid. It's very important you keep your ring cleaned and oiled. I oil mine because I don't want it to dry out. You need to make sure it's clean and you don't feel anything around the ridges here. because if there's anything there, it will not seal on your canner. It'll just be waiting and waiting and waiting for it to come to pressure. It's not ever going to. Right here, this lets you know if it's up to pressure or not. This will come up and it will stay up once you've reached the amount of pressure. This is a little vent. Here is where your weight goes. I check through it to make sure that it's not clogged with anything. You just look through there, look through the little hole. There's an arrow. You will line this up with the arrow on your handle. I'll line this arrow right here up with the arrow on this handle and push them together. Once we have a steady stream of steam coming up through here, I'll come back and show you how that looks. We will set our timer for 10 minutes because we will want this to vent for 10 minutes. Now you can see there's a steady stream of steam coming up. I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes. And I'm going to let it vent for 10 minutes. Our steady stream of steam has been going for 10 minutes. The timer's gone off. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put the weight on there. This is the one I use. This is for 10 pounds of pressure. Each one of these comes with different weights that you can take on and off. I just sit it on there and I wait. Once this starts jiggling, I will lower my heat a little bit because I don't want it going crazy. Then I will set my timer for an hour and 15 minutes. I'm only doing beans. I don't have any meat or meat products in with the beans, so I'll do those for an hour and 15 minutes for the large jars. Now, if I had meat or meat products in with the beans, I would have to do it for an hour and a half. This is about how you want it to be rocking. I have finally reached 10 pounds of pressure. I've already learned what my stove can be set on to keep it rocking like that. Now, I will set my timer for an hour and 15 minutes. Now the canner everything's turned off. The pressure has gone out of the pot because this has dropped back down. I can take this off and you hear no steam or anything. I leave mine closed until the next morning. That way they have time to seal and everything in here and not be disturbed. When I take it off, if I take the lid off and it's still hot, I will lift it and raise it like this way so I don't get slapped in the face with steam. For the most part, I leave mine closed until the next morning. Here are my jars of canned lima beans.